Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Have you organised the company Christmas party yet? It's an opportunity for staff to relax, let their hair down and have some fun. But beware, things can go wrong. Often when the booze flows a little too easily. And before you know it, there's an accident, an argument, untoward advances or otherwise offensive behaviour. And just like that, your well-intentioned Christmas celebration has taken you all the way to court. Business lawyer Tracey Mylecharane has some words of advice for business owners and managers who are arranging end-of-year parties. Your business could be in a world of hurt, she tells Chris Ashmore, if things go pear-shaped.
The Christmas party can be a high-risk environment for business owners and employers, and there's something that people don't tend to think about as often as they perhaps should come the end-of-year festive season. But think about it this way: if there's an accident or an argument, or if there's some offensive behaviour or some form of harassment, that needs to be treated the same way it would be treated if it was in the workplace during ordinary business hours.
Any reminders to staff a business owner or manager would do well to offer in advance of the event about expected levels of behaviour?
Absolutely. Business owners would be well advised to advise employees and any other participant, i.e. family members or partners, that the behaviour at the party or the gathering ought to be the behaviour that one would exhibit in the workplace. So it is a work function. It is a workplace event. So the same rules and obligations apply. What I would say as well at this time of year is that it's really important to make it very clear to participants or employees coming along what the start time is and what the end time is.
Why is that?
Because it's a workplace function, it's a working environment, we like to make it as clear as possible to participants when the work function actually ends. And ideally, that's the time, from the business owner's perspective, that their liability ceases. But of course, Chris, like all things legal, that's not always the case. There is a bit of a grey area. Right.
When it comes to the venue, should the party be done outside the premises of the office, or is it better to have it within the office?
There's complexities with both. If you're hosting it within the office, you've got additional obligations in relation to monitoring things like alcohol consumption. And let's be honest, that's the biggest consideration at a Christmas party, isn't it? Alcohol consumption, how much alcohol is being served in ratio to how much food is being served, who's monitoring it, how's it being served. So if you're having it in the premises, strong advice here is to get somebody who's qualified, responsible service of alcohol qualified, to be serving the alcohol and monitoring the alcohol. I'm thinking eskies around, sitting around under chairs and making it a free-for-all is not what we want to be doing as business owners at this time of the year.
Right. Now, Kris Kringle, or Secret Santa, that's something that a lot of businesses do at Christmas time. Are there any risks involved there?
Yes, there really are. Everybody has different senses of humour, don't they? And people have different ideas of what's appropriate and what's funny. My view is very strongly make it clear to employees and participants that any gift given or exchanged ought to be G-rated, suitable for family viewing so that it's not offensive, so that it's not going to cause distress, and so that it doesn't breach any potential sexual harassment or other harassment policies within the workplace.
Well, we're talking about start times and end times. Often what happens is there's an after party. A group of colleagues might decide to go somewhere else once the function's over. What happens to the company's legal responsibilities then?
It can be a grey area where, even though we've made it really clear that there is an end time, if people kick on, we do run into the grey area of potentially the work function has kicked on and our liability hasn't necessarily ended. That can be complicated even further when the boss or the business owner or the manager or the management team are the ones kicking along as well, having more drinks and, even worse, shouting drinks. If that happens, the law can view that arrangement as the work function having had continued. That's when the risk doesn't end and liability continues during that kick-on after party.
So the business owner is in a world of hurt, potentially, with any kind of end-of-work function or party. Is it best then perhaps not to have one at all?
Look, the question I ask clients who speak to me about liability attached to Christmas parties is, do you really need to have one? Sometimes the answer is yes, and I respect that. But other times my clients will pause and say, well, actually, I hadn't thought of it like that. It's always been the done thing, the end-of-year Christmas party. But that doesn't mean that it needs to continue, and it doesn't mean that it's the best idea from a business perspective. Your employees, your team, have just worked with you for the last 48 weeks of the year, let's say, they're full-time. Are we giving them an option to come along? Are we giving them an option to say no? Do they feel obliged? Is there going to be offence taken? Will they be viewed negatively? It's potentially another obligation that employees have to comply with or have to attend for fear that they may be viewed unfavourably if they don't attend. So do we really need to have it? And if we do need to have it, does it need to be a boozy dinner or a boozy lunch? Can it be something alcohol-free, perhaps? Can it be some other activity? Does it actually need to be at that time of year even, particularly given that so many others are gathering for the festive season festivities? And so the risk then of altercations or issues arising at that time of year is higher.
So if, let's say a business decides not to have an end-of-year party or function, but other members of the team decide to go out on their own, and one of them is a senior manager, let's say, and shenanigans may happen or things may happen, is there still a responsibility with the company, or is that on the individuals themselves?
We'd like to think it's on the individuals themselves, but the reality is we need to look at it on a case-by-case basis. And if you have the manager or the leader or the boss out in an environment like that at the end of the year, when it's been said that it's for end-of-year celebrations, even though it's casual and it's only some employees, and there are drinks being consumed and the manager or the boss is shouting, then we do end up back in that situation where it could be deemed at law to be a work function and liability could follow if there is an issue.
Well, I suppose to finish on a lighter note, and company's done well, let's say, and the boss is happy, everybody's happy, they've kicked all the goals during the year. Is there a way to recognise and reward the team for the effort that they've done?
Oh, there's many ways, and that can be assessed again on a case-by-case basis, but I have business owners as clients who give end-of-year bonuses as an expression of gratitude. I have business owners who give gift vouchers to things like the movies or go and have dinner with your partner, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive in that it's really respected and with gratitude that those types of individualised gifts are received well and they can be used at a time that best suits the employee.
That was business lawyer Tracey Mylecharane. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow at BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.